You built a shelf. It's a little crooked. One of the screws is stripped. And honestly, if you saw it in a store, you'd never buy it. But it's sitting in your living room right now. And some part of you actually likes it more than the perfectly straight one your friend bought pre-assembled. That's not just you being sentimental. Studies show if you asked people to actually bid money on their own janky creations versus an identical, professionally made version, they'd pay almost the same for both, sometimes more for their own. This is called the IKEA Effect, and it's not really about furniture. It's about a switch in your brain that flips the second you put in effort. And once it flips, you can't see the thing you made clearly anymore. Here's what's actually going on. In 2011, 3 researchers, Michael Norton, Daniel Mochon, and Dan Ariely, ran an experiment that's become a classic in behavioral psychology. They had people build things, IKEA storage boxes, origami, simple Lego sets. Then they asked those same people, how much would you pay for this? And they compared it to what other people who didn't build anything were willing to pay for an identical, already assembled version. The builders consistently valued their own creations higher, not slightly higher. In some cases, they were willing to pay almost as much for their wobbly amateur origami as an expert's clean, professional version of the exact same fold. Here's the detail that makes this experiment brilliant, though. In a second version of the study, researchers had participants build something, then destroyed it in front of them before they could evaluate it. The effect vanished completely. Think about what that rules out. If this was just about ownership, it's mine, so I like it. Destroying it shouldn't matter, because in their heads, they still made it. But it did matter. A lot. Which means this was never really about ownership at all. So what is it about? To answer that, we have to look at the theory most people jump to first, and why it's actually incomplete. The first explanation most people land on is simple. It's yours, so of course you like it more. Psychologists actually have a name for this, the endowment effect, our general tendency to value things more once we own them. Classic studies show that people who are given a coffee mug will demand more money to sell it than an identical mug they don't own would be worth to them as a buyer. Same object, different perceived value. Just because of ownership. So it's tempting to say, that's it, mystery solved. The IKEA effect is just the endowment effect wearing a tool belt. Except, remember that detail from the destroyed creation experiment? If pure ownership were the whole story, destroying the object shouldn't change anything. In the participant's mind, they still made it. They still have that memory, that connection. But once it was destroyed in front of them, their inflated valuation collapsed. That tells us ownership is only part of the puzzle. There's something else going on, something tied specifically to the act of building it, not just possessing it. And that points to a completely different mechanism than simple, mine is better. The real driver behind the IKEA effect is something psychologists call effort justification. And it comes from a much older, much bigger idea in psychology, cognitive dissonance, first described by Leon Festinger in the 1950s. Cognitive dissonance is the discomfort your brain feels when two things it believes don't line up. And here's the conflict your brain runs into every time you finish assembling something. On one hand, you just spent 30 minutes fighting with an Allen wrench and swearing at instructions. On the other hand, if the end result is just mediocre, then all of that effort was wasted. And your brain does not like holding both of those thoughts at once. So it resolves the tension the easy way, not by admitting the effort was wasted, but by quietly inflating how good the result actually is. You didn't waste 30 minutes on a slightly wobbly shelf. You built something worth 30 minutes. Your brain edits the value of the object to protect the story that your effort meant something. This is different from a related idea you might have heard of, sunk cost fallacy. Sunk cost is about future decisions. I already spent money on this, so I'll keep spending. The IKEA effect isn't about deciding what to do next, it's about how you value something after the fact, permanently, even when there's no decision left to make. There's a second layer to this, too: competent signaling to yourself. Successfully completing a task, even something as simple as matching part C to slot 12, reinforces a quiet internal narrative. I am capable. I can build things. I follow through. Undervaluing the finished product would undermine that narrative. So your brain protects your self-image by protecting the object's perceived value. This shows up way beyond furniture. Parents consistently rate their own children's drawings as more impressive than equivalent drawings by other kids the same age. Writers become deeply attached to early drafts, even messy ones, because of the hours poured in, sometimes to the point of struggling to cut content that clearly isn't working. In business, there's a documented phenomenon called the not invented here bias. Companies will choose to keep funding an inferior, in-house built solution over switching to a demonstrably better outside product, purely because their own team built it. The pattern is always the same. Effort goes in, and your perception of value comes out distorted, inflated just enough that you can't fully trust your own judgment about something you made. This isn't just a quirky psychology fact. It quietly shapes real decisions. In business, the not invented here bias has led companies to burn years and millions of dollars maintaining internal systems that are objectively worse than something they could buy off the shelf, because switching would mean admitting the effort their team put in wasn't worth it. In relationships, this same mechanism can distort judgment. The more effort someone pours into a relationship, a plan, or a project, organizing it, fighting for it, building it from nothing, the harder it becomes to see it clearly, even when the outcome isn't actually good. The effort itself starts to feel like proof it must be worth keeping. Companies know this bias exists. They exploit it deliberately. That's the entire business model behind Build-A-Bear, meal kit subscriptions, DIY furniture, and paint-your-own pottery studios. You're not just paying for a product. You're paying for the raw materials of your own attachment to it. The company hands you 90% of the work already done, lets you do the last 10%, and that small sliver of effort is enough to flip the switch and make you value the result far beyond what it actually cost to make. So go back to that shelf. Crooked, a stripped screw, objectively kind of rough. It was never really about the shelf. It was about protecting a story. The story that your time, your effort, your 30 minutes of frustration meant something. And that's the part worth sitting with. Somewhere in your life right now, there's probably something you're overvaluing. Not because it's actually good, but purely because of how much of yourself you poured into it. A relationship, a project, a plan you refuse to abandon. Your brain won't flag it for you. It never does. If this changed how you look at that thing sitting in your room right now, subscribe. Because next time, we're looking at the flip side of this. Why we sometimes throw away things that took no effort at all, no matter how good they actually are.